Andrew Tate and his brother, along with 2 other individuals, were arrested in Bucharest, Romania. The charges were sex trafficking, rape, and running a criminal organization. If you don't know who Andrew Tate is, I'm going to give you some background on who Andrew Tate is, and then I'm going to let you know about the conspiracy. Andrew Tate is a former world champion kickboxer. He and his brother also were on several reality TV shows in the United Kingdom. They were on, I think Andrew was actually on he was one of the seasons of Big Brother. Tristan was also on I think 1 or 2 reality TV shows. You get to a point where, you know, he lost a couple matches. He was a world champion kickboxer, doing well, but let's face it, how long can you really do that? So he and his brother sat around and they tried to figure out, like, how could they make money? How do we actually start making money? Because the truth is, being a reality TV show participant in England is going to get you a lot of notoriety, but there's lots of people that get notoriety and they just never really make any money doing it. They end up working, you know, a regular job, and, you know, that's really their 15-minute fame. Like, I get it. So he and his brother sit around and they figure out, like, how can we start making money? They come across multiple videos, and one of the videos talks about women and how there are women online doing they call them cam girls, I think. Hold on, yeah, they call them cam girls. Keep in mind, this was whatever, 15 years ago, or 10, 15 years ago. These girls would go on camera, and through a website, which you can pay for, kind of like what OnlyFans is now. You pay, and these girls would perform. They would do different things, perform sexual acts, do whatever for money. Basically, OnlyFans. Andrew and his brother, they get several of their girlfriends to do this. Now, the way they end up coaxing these girls into doing it, and I hate to use the word coaxing, although it really genuinely is coaxing. He actually had, I believe it was, they had several girls that they were communicating with online. They had them fly into England, and they told them that they had a plan. And some of the girls were very upset. They flew back to the United States or whatever countries they were from, and it ended up where a couple of girls, like 2 girls, 2 of Andrew's girls and 2 of Tristan's girls, said, okay, we'll participate. They started going online. They started this business. They went online, and they started, Andrew would talk to guys in the chat like he was one of the girls, and then the girls would do different things and talk to the guys, and they would get paid. Well, this very quickly started growing. Before you know it, he had 10 girls working for him, then it became 20, and then it was 30, and then it was up to, I think it's at one point he said he and his brother had 75 women that were working for them doing these videos. And he said in one of the interviews that I watched, he said that that at one point they were making around $400,000 a month. They have a bunch of girls living in various houses in England. Life is good. Once they started making money, they took that money and they invested it into cryptocurrency. Bitcoin, I watched a video where Tristan talked about how they dumped a ton of money into Bitcoin when it was going for about $3,000. So they ended up nearly doubling their income by investing in crypto. They got in at the right time. Like, I don't know that necessarily makes them brilliant, but let's face it, that's obviously, if you know the rise of crypto or Bitcoin, they got in at the right time. So they started making a ton of money doing that. Now, at this point, Andrew and his brother they're really starting to flaunt their wealth, right? They've got multiple cars. They're living in nice houses. Their social media presence is starting to become known. And one of the things that Andrew does is he hires a team to start kind of following him around. Well, when you're on YouTube and you're on all these social platforms, a lot of people reach out to you. And Andrew is extremely masculine, let's say. He has a lot of characteristics that are lacking in males, at least within the United States, young males. So he's extremely influential. He's got lots of girls. He's got lots of money. People look up to him. Very quickly, people start reaching out, asking like, hey, asking him questions. He realizes, hey, I can actually have people pay me to be a part of a service where I will teach them, how to essentially be, let's say, a man, more masculine. So as a result of that, he ends up opening up what he calls Hustlers University. Now, Hustlers University, you pay $50 a month. You have access to multiple courses that Andrew has come up with on his own, or his team has come up with. And a lot of these courses are also done by other people. So other people will also pitch in and do the courses. And you could say, hey, I thought these were going to be courses done by Andrew. Some of them are just hand-picked courses. You're also getting advice from other people other than Andrew. And they're basically on, let's say, how to be masculine, or how to pick up women, how to be masculine, how to be, hold yourself accountable. They're motivational. A lot of it's motivational stuff. The point is $50 a month, and he's got a ton of people signing up for this. And he ends up, within a few years, he was bringing in, according to Andrew Tate, he's bringing in around $500,000 a month through Hustlers University subscriptions. And by the way, at this point, he's now blowing up on social media. He's everywhere. And he goes on a media tour. And look, the thing about this guy is that, and we're going to get into charges and everything else later, and it's all over social media right now. Like news programs are coming out with it, everything. And a lot of them are just 100% just bashing him. Now, they've been bashing the guy for years now. But the message that he is putting out there isn't necessarily all wrong. I disagree with his delivery. But a lot of what he's saying, if you scaled it down and he said it in a different way, is not necessarily a horrible message. It's more about, look, if you're a guy and you're unhappy and women aren't interested in you, then you need to become the kind of guy that women would be interested in. Maybe you need to be more masculine. Maybe you need to work out. Maybe you need to get up early. Maybe you need to get a job. The problem with a lot of millennials at this point is, I'll take I have friends that, I'm not going to say who, but I have friends that literally, like, their kids are 21 and 22 years old. They're not going to school. They have a part-time job, and they don't even have a driver's license. Like, they don't have a car. They're not trying to get a car. They don't have a driver's license. Their mom at 22 is dropping them off at work and picking them up. And I know people that have 2-3 kids that are 22, 23 years old and living at the house. They don't want to get a job. They don't want to get a job. They don't want to get a car. Their parents aren't pushing them, or they yell at them and they yell back. They're disrespectful to their parents. It's, and then they're lonely, and they're not confident. They don't understand why they don't have a girlfriend. They don't understand why girls don't like them. They don't understand why everything that they see on social media isn't happening to them. Why don't I have a nice car? Why am I not rich? I'm smart. Or maybe they think they're not smart. And what Andrew Tate does is, Andrew Tate says, look, get up off your ass, get a job, start working, start saving your money, start figuring out ways to make money, hustle. You need to start hustling. You need to start working out. You need to get your mind right. You need to start being, a player, a hustler. You need to start being more masculine. Take charge. Be an alpha male. Well, look, in a lot of ways, those are great. He says a lot of great stuff. He says a lot of horrible stuff, He also says a lot of horrible stuff. And the problem is that someone like him, to me, I'm not overly offended if I'm listening to someone and I talk to someone and I don't agree with everything they say. Like, I take what I can from the conversation. And I don't hate someone because they say something I disagree with. Now, the problem is that nowadays in social media, you can say 99% of something that everybody agrees with, and you say one thing that they disagree with, and suddenly they hate your guts, and they don't want anything to do with you, and they want to see nothing but your demise. That's what happened with Andrew Tate. And let me explain what happened. Like, across the board, he became synonymous. And listen, honestly, and it's his fault. But he became synonymous with just toxic masculinity, he was labeled a misogynist, which, is he? To a degree. He has a poor image of women, I don't know what the reason for that is, that he has such a poor opinion of women. But like I said, once again, that's just one thing about the guy that, I disagree with. There are other things I do agree with. So the other thing is, look, he was also very much pushing the idea that, men should be men. And he would say derogatory things about, men dressing up as women, and, just across the board. He wasn't embracing the change that is occurring in the youth of today. And as a result of that, he was banned across the board by multiple social media. Okay, he was banned. We're talking about within, I believe he said within 24 hours this happened. He was banned, and I look, not that I'm a big social media person, or that I've been out for a long time, or that I've followed these types of things very, very often, but it truly is amazing that within 24 hours he was banned. And this went on for a year or so, right? Like, he's a year or 2 years. He's on social media. He's building up a huge following, and across the board, he was banned from TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. He said that Google shut off a couple of his email addresses, which I don't even know how that's possible. He just said, was like across the board. He said banks were shutting down his bank accounts. Like, it's really amazing that that's even possible. Like, I love the idea of freedom of speech, and the idea that, look, like, I disagree with a lot of stuff that's out there, but I wouldn't say that person can't say that person needs to be shut down, or their voice needs to be silenced. Like, it's like, listen, I'm going to listen to everybody, and I'm going to pick what speaks to me. And instead, what's happened is, they canceled him. Was it the cancel culture, right? So they canceled him, and then the social media platforms all canceled him, which killed me. So I just thought that was insane. Regardless of what you think of as his actual message. Basically, what Andrew Tate has said about being shut down on social media it's actually pretty interesting. He's gone on several videos, which we'll play. And essentially what he says is he wasn't upset about it, because he said he kind of like, I think he said I believe he said he knew it was coming. He knew that he's constantly talking about the Matrix, like the Matrix is how, all the governments and all the social media and how everything's plugged in to one another, and how they had it out for him. So he essentially said he knew that the Matrix was coming for him, and he knew that, and he was only upset because he had burned one of his lives, and he kind of explains that in these clips.
The only thing, and I'll state this at the beginning, the only reason I'm upset by being canceled is because I've expired one of my lives. Because first you get canceled, then they make up a reason to put you in jail, and if that fails, they kill you. So now I'm down to my last 2 lives, which is also why, while I'm answering this question, I'm still being careful how I'm answering it. I'm not telling you
scary
everything.
Shit.
It's scary because they've given me the warning, and I'm still running my mouth.
Yeah.
So that's scary.
And basically, he says that he's putting out his message, and that the first way they try and silence you, right? Like, you use up one of your lives, they try and silence you by shutting you down on social media and spreading disinformation about you. So that's one. He said that's already happened. He said the second thing that they do is they accuse you of a crime and they have you arrested. Okay. The third thing they do, if that doesn't shut you up, the third thing they do is they have you murdered. They kill you. And he has a few videos where he's come out and he said, look, he's like, if I, like I'm not going to commit suicide. Like I'm not going to, his fear was that, ultimately they fake a suicide, kind of like people talk about McAfee, or they talk about Epstein, like, they committed suicide and then of course they didn't commit suicide. It was a murder. Or there's an accident, of course, there's all those videos and conspiracy theories about how the Clintons have had multiple people either commit suicide or have accidents that had dirt on them. Like, and I'm not a huge conspiracy theorist. Regardless, those things are out there. So he's kind of playing on those types of conspiracies that something bad's going to happen to him. So what I thought was hilarious, this is the other thing about, he's constantly talking about the Matrix, and he's, talking about being like outside of the Matrix and how to work outside of the Matrix and be successful outside of the Matrix. And I remember one of the things he has said multiple times is he has like a half a dozen passports from different countries so that he can leave at any time. Like he's got he actually has videos on how to obtain passports from other countries. He has videos on how to start a webcam business, there's all kinds of it, how to start this business, that business. He's got all kinds of videos that are out on Hustlers University, which is comical. So, which is funny because this whole thing's probably even making him even more money. So after he gets shut down, then he blows up even bigger. Then it becomes a huge thing that he's been shut down by social media and he's been canceled by cancel culture. So his house ends up getting raided, and as they're leading him away, he says, "The Matrix has attacked me." And there's a video of him being walked off, I believe in handcuffs, led to the police car, or led into the it's being led. I think he's being led into the police station, and there's a video of him saying, "The Matrix has attacked me." So which I think in the midst of this whole thing, the fact that he said this is fucking hilarious.
The Matrix has attacked me.
Let's get to the sex trafficking, rape, and running a criminal organization charges. The charges stem from an April 2022 allegation made by the ex-boyfriend of a woman that was working for Andrew Tate. So this is according to Andrew Tate. And actually, it's also according to several videos I've seen and a news program, and it's according to an article I read which breaks down the entire arrest also. So here's what happened. Andrew Tate had a woman that was working for him. Obviously in Romania. He has his, he calls it his mansion. It's a big house. So he's got his mansion, and then close to that mansion, within I think 500 feet or so, he has a few more buildings. It's like a compound, and they have other buildings, and there are girls that are working in those buildings. Well, the ex-boyfriend of one of those girls was an American. She calls her ex-boyfriend. Her ex-boyfriend calls the U.S. Embassy in Romania and calls the police, and they contact the police station, and he says his girlfriend is working against her will and for Andrew Tate, and she's being forced to commit sexual acts on camera, blah blah blah, whatever else, and she's been kidnapped, and she's being held against her will. So the Romanian police go to Andrew Tate's house. They come into the house, they search the house, they search the other buildings attached, they find the girl, they arrest Andrew Tate, and they arrest his brother, and they bring them downtown. They question him. He says the girl is not there against her will. She can leave anytime she wants. In fact, she must be okay because she was able to contact her ex-boyfriend, apparently. You know, she has access to a cell phone. She has access to the internet. She could certainly leave. She could have called the police, whatever. Well, they interviewed them for about 45 minutes to an hour, and they let both of them go. No charges were filed. And the entire thing, according to Andrew Tate, died right then. According to him, it was the ex-boyfriend who had basically swatted him. So it was kind of like, he called it a swatting. It was a swatting issue where he had called in this allegation in order to get his house raided, just to give him a hard time because his girlfriend had broken up with her boyfriend in America, flown to Romania, and was now working for Andrew Tate, and was now a girl that he was seeing. Like I said, that's his point of view. That was his explanation. I really haven't seen anything that disputes it. Whether or not the girlfriend contacted the boyfriend and said that or not, I don't know. Andrew Tate says that she wasn't being held against her will. The other girls that were there also said they weren't being held against their will. This is according to Andrew Tate. There was no, the investigation died at that point. Now, what happened was that initial complaint started an investigation. And they investigated Andrew Tate and those complaints for the next 6 months. Now that investigation, according to an article I read, a couple of different videos I've seen, basically says that investigation revealed that Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate were running what's called a lover boy scam. They would go online and they would, communicate with women. These women see who they are, they see the money, they see the cars. These guys convince them that they want them to come to Romania, come live with me, I'm in love with you, we can get married, whatever the case may be. These women then fly to Romania, and once they're in Romania, they are forced to work as webcam girls for the Tate organization against their will. In one case, one of the women says that she was coerced through coercion or violence to have sex. Whether that was on camera or not, I don't know. It just says to have sex. How many times? I'm not sure. They say the investigation has pinpointed 6 victims that say that this was a scam that they fell victim to. As a result of that, there was an arrest warrant issued for Andrew Tate, or an arrest order. They don't really have a warrant. It's an arrest order issued to arrest 4 people, which is Andrew Tate, Tristan Tate, a former Romanian female police officer, and 1 other individual. The problem is, Andrew Tate at that time, once that order came down, Andrew Tate and his brother were not in Romania. And keep in mind, he is also mentioned on numerous podcasts that he has 6 or 7 passports to 6 or 7 different countries, and he could disappear at a moment's notice. Now, the Romanians obviously do not want to get into an extradition issue. They don't want to be hunting this guy for the next, 2 years and then having to fight extradition to try and get him back from Dubai or some country where he's got citizenship or he's got a passport and he's flying all over the place. Plus, the guy's got millions. He legitimately is a multi-millionaire. He could probably stay gone for a long time. Even though he's well recognized, it'd still be difficult to get him back on some charges that really so far sound like it's just some accusations. That's a hard thing to get people to come back on. It's not like there's a definite trail, of emails and text messages or whatever. Actually, there may be. I really don't. To be honest with you, I don't know. But still, you can fight extradition for years. They don't want to get into that. What they want to do is they want to wait. They want to wait till they know they got him. So what do? They simply monitor his social media presence. And although his accounts are shut down, he's still able to go on to certain platforms, one of them being Twitter. All right. So here's where it gets it's funny because it's kind of interesting you know, a lot of these news programs and influencers are going nuts, like, oh my gosh, like what an idiot, he got slammed, he got taken, he got conned, the truth is that law enforcement does this all the time. I know a guy that had robbed a bank. This was stupid. He robbed a bank, then took photos of himself laying on his bed with money laying all around him, not realizing that a couple of the bands of money actually had the bands and the numbers and the bank name of one of the banks the bank that he had robbed. So very quickly, people in his circle realized a bank got robbed down the street yesterday, and now this guy's posting pictures of him with all this money around him, holding a gun, and there's bands on all these different wads of bank notes with the same name of the bank. So they simply, some of these people cut and pasted those or copied those, screenshot, whatever you want to say, those pictures and sent them to the FBI, and the FBI came and arrested him. Not that sharp. Now keep in mind, Andrew Tate at this point, he doesn't think he's under investigation. I don't think this was something that stupid. It certainly wasn't. He certainly didn't. It wasn't a slip up. He probably just genuinely thought, I haven't done anything wrong. Maybe he thinks he hadn't done anything wrong. Maybe he thinks he knows he did something wrong, but he thinks he's in Romania and he has a lot of money and there's just not much they can do to him. Clearly he was wrong, because what happened was he went onto Twitter. He got into an exchange with Greta Thunberg, and she's also like an influencer and activist for global, or against global warming or climate change. They're calling it climate change. When I grew up, it was global warming. Now it's climate change. So she's an activist, for climate change or climate change prevention. I'm not really sure how you say it. Anyway, the point is, they get into an exchange where Andrew Tate is kind of mocking her, which is what he does, about climate change, and says he's got over 33 sports cars. He shows himself putting fuel in his Bugatti and talking about how he has all these sports cars pumping out emissions, and so he kind of mocks her. She goes back, she says something derogatory about him, he says something snide back to her, and then he makes a little video. He starts talking about his Bugatti or one of his sports cars and how it runs on dead dinosaurs, which I thought was comical.
I was informing Greta that my very extensive car collection with internal combustion engines, which run on dead dinosaurs, have an enormous emission.
Anyway, while he's mocking her in this silly video that he does, somebody brings him some pizza. The pizza boxes are from, I don't know what the pizza box is, Joe's Pizza or Jim's Pizza or some pizza place. It's not like Papa John's or Domino's. It's a Romanian pizza place that's clearly close to Andrew Tate's house. Now, because this exchange is going on Twitter, and he released the video so quickly, and he served pizza from a pizza place in Romania, the Romanians realized, holy shit, he's here. He's in the country. He hadn't been in the country in over a month. They'd been watching his social media, monitoring his social media for over a month. So what do? They immediately put together a little team. They raid his house. They go straight to the house. They raid the house. They search the house. They arrest him, Andrew Tate, his brother, and the two other individuals. While Andrew Tate is being led out of the house or led into the police station, he ends up saying the Matrix is attacking me comment. He's being held for, I believe the newspaper said he was expected to be held for 24 hours. And, based on these charges, these allegations or charges, I don't know if there are official charges yet, there was an order to have him arrested. Now, I don't know what's happened. His lawyer one of his lawyers did release a statement saying he would cooperate fully. Didn't say they were baseless or anything like that, just said that he has the utmost respect for Romanian law enforcement, although I've heard him say numerous times that the Romanian law enforcement and the Romanian government is extremely corrupt, which I have no doubt that they are extremely corrupt. And a lot of people have issues, with saying, oh, they're, with the United States government being corrupt and our law enforcement being corrupt. And listen, at some level, there's corruption in any organization. You're just not going to have an organization where there's not corruption unless maybe it's run by AI or something. So, is the Romanian government and law enforcement more corrupt than the United States law enforcement? I absolutely believe that. They don't get paid a lot of money. They're trying to survive. They are a culture that was run by the Soviet Union for 50 years. There's a lot of corruption in those types of organizations. It's a survival of the fittest, and so you make your little stipend from law enforcement or from your employer, and then you hustle on the side. So you try and pick up a little bit from pulling somebody over, and they give you $50 instead of having to pay a ticket or being taken to jail or whatever. So they stuff their pockets a little here and there to make ends meet. Is it wrong? Absolutely. The problem is Andrew Tate is constantly saying that they're corrupt, and he uses that corruption, and he would rather live in those types of countries that are corrupt, because at least then he could make the corruption work for him. He could play the game. They probably don't like that. That's probably an issue. So why would they so that's one of the reasons they probably took these charges pretty seriously and came and arrested him. Makes them look good. This guy says we're corrupt, we're going to go and arrest him. That possibly feeds into the whole situation. A lot of people might be asking themselves, why Romania? Why would you go to Romania? Keep in mind, he started the webcam or the cam girl business, whatever you want to call it. He started that business while he was in England. Why move it to Romania? All right, so that's a little bit of background. This is a little bit of background on that. A lot of people don't know this. I didn't know this until I started researching it. And I think I've done a considerable amount of research on Andrew Tate. I did another video on Andrew Tate with a buddy of mine, and where we talk about Andrew Tate. So here's why. At one point, when Andrew Tate and his brother were running their organization, and they were in England running the organization, they had a 10-bedroom. He'd probably call it a mansion. I'd call it a really big house. So he had a really big house with 10 bedrooms. And he had multiple women living in the house that were working for him in the cam business, right in the OnlyFans or whatever you want to call it, in his business. Well, he said, there was a lot of alcohol around for the girls. He said, they have to, they get a little, you get a couple drinks in them, they loosen up, they feel better talking on the camera, whatever. Listen, in a way like that might seem kind of sleazy, but I'll be honest with you, bro. Listen, I wish I could take a Xanax every time I have to do this. I don't feel great on camera. And you do have to get yourself in the mood to do this. I didn't want to do this video. I had Colby sending me texts all day saying, Colby's my editor, saying, you got to do this video, bro. Everybody's doing it. You have a different take on it. Okay. I don't know if that's true. But, so, basically, Andrew Tate and his brother were running this business out of this, this large house. One of the girls ends up drinking too much. And this is whatever, 5, 6, 7 years ago, right? Before he went to move the business to Romania. One of the girls drinks too much. She ends up throwing up several times in the house. He then says to her, listen, get your shit together. Clean up this mess. You've got to work. What are you doing? You have to start, what are you doing? You got to be a professional, clean up. She gives him attitude. She's drunk. They start arguing back and forth. He physically grabs her by the arm, and I watched a video where he explains the whole thing. He said, I threw her out. I threw her out of the house. So he throws her out of the house. She then comes back later and says, I want you to pay me I think he said £1,000 that he owed, which is about, I think £1,000 is, it's over $1,000. So whatever, that'd be about $1,300. So she says, hey, you owe me over £1,000. I want that money now. He says, fuck you, I'm not paying you. To me, that's a dick move. You throw her out, give her her money, get rid of her. It's over, it's not working out. Apparently he goes, fuck her, I didn't do it. That's very much him. He's just, a jerk. So he didn't give her the money. I think he said like a month or so went by. She contacts the authorities. So there may have been some back and forth about her trying to acquire the money and him saying he's not going to give it to her. Eventually she calls the authorities, calls the local police station and says that he attacked her. He physically harmed her. He beat her up and threw her out of the house. They then go and they raid the house. He says they kick in the door, they come in strong, they grab him, they take him downtown. He's arrested. Well, once they search, they start questioning all the other girls that were in the house. The other girls say, that's not what happened at all. She got drunk, she threw up, they got into an argument. He did physically ask her to leave, push her out of the house, but he didn't beat her up, he didn't slap her, he didn't hurt her, he didn't harm her in any way. She's really upset about the fact that he didn't pay her the money she says he owes her. Okay. What happens is eventually, although Tate said that it took 6 months before the authorities would drop the charges, it cost him something I think he said nearly $500,000. It was nearly $500,000 in legal fees that he had to pay because he was planning on going to trial. There's an investigation. People are being interviewed. Legal fees are extremely expensive, I assure you. Now, you can get a public defender, but a guy like this doesn't qualify for a public defender. And the moment you get a lawyer and he sees what you're up against and how much money you have, if you're just a regular Joe, they'd probably charge you $100,000, but they know you've got millions, they're going to charge you $500,000. So they charge him nearly $500,000. 6 months later, the charges are dropped. The whole thing drops. He ends up meeting someone from Romania, which may or may not have been this former female police officer. I don't know. He ends up talking to some law enforcement officer in Romania while he's traveling. That law enforcement officer explains how he had been arrested in England. And the law enforcement officer says, well, that would have never flied in here. That would have never flied here. You can't have somebody arrested unless they can show bruises. It would have to be right away. They'd have to come to the police department. They would have to show bruises. They would have to have witnesses. It's not that easy to have someone arrested. So Andrew Tate and his brother say, you know what? Let's move to England. Let's move to Romania. So they move their entire organization to Romania. While in Romania, obviously they continue doing what they're doing. They invest in crypto. They continue the webcam business. They also invest in several casinos. They start making a ton of money. They're obviously at that point. He also starts, that's the same time period when he starts doing social media. He starts Hustlers University. A couple years later, he gets banned. After he was banned, he went on several programs and says that as a result of his message, and because he won't shut up, eventually the Matrix will come after him. And, they'll have him arrested or killed. Now, maybe he already knew there was an investigation going on. That's very possible. I don't know. And maybe he was already laying the groundwork, hey, I know they're investigating me. I'm going to lay the groundwork and say that if I'm ever arrested, it's because they're framing me. They're trying to get rid of me. I don't know. Then there's also they may have me killed someday. Anyway, regardless, that's the reason he went to Romania. He then started coming out on programs talking about how they were eventually going to have him arrested or come for him or have him, suicided or whatever you want to call it. By the time this is released, Andrew Tate will most likely have been released from the Romanian jail. and he will probably do a video explaining what's happening or what was told to him or what he's facing. Now, he may also have already gotten a lawyer, and the lawyer says, don't do a video, don't do anything. That's very possible. But, you know, someone like him with the, you know, he's definitely a narcissist, suffers from, you know, serious ego issues. He's probably going to do a video. I wouldn't be shocked if he does a video where he explains, they're coming for me, it's all lies, it's all this, it's all that. If that does happen, like, I'll connect that video I'll connect that video to the end of this video. Now, here is the conspiracy that I think will most likely come out of this. All right. Now, I'm not a huge conspiracy theorist, but if I had to come up with a conspiracy on why Andrew Tate is so disliked and why it seems like not only social media, but now law enforcement and everybody else is coming after him, when apparently he is in a country that doesn't really have the same kind of values that the US has or that the UK has, Western society has, other than possibly him just thumbing his nose at, you know, at the Romanian law enforcement and government, and them just saying, you know what, this guy's kind of a jerk. Let's go ahead and arrest him to let him know and everybody else know that, hey, we do have law and order in this country. Maybe that's the reason. But if I had to venture a guess on what the conspiracy is, I would say this is the conspiracy. Who is behind it? China. Here's why. TikTok's algorithm is essentially designed to undermine the American youth. Let me give you an example. And by the way, if you want to know where I kind of got this in a way, in some ways, I got this from a couple different videos, but one of them was a video that was put out by Valuetainment, by Patrick Bet-David with Valuetainment. And if I think about it, I will link that in the description box and you can watch it. It talks about TikTok and China. Great video. He really breaks down. He does a whole 6-month evaluation of TikTok. Super interesting video. Kids that watch TikTok in China aren't shown the same things that the youth in the United States are shown. They're shown things like science experiments, you know, other kids doing science experiments, other kids doing gymnastics, other kids winning contests, other kids studying hard, making their parents proud, kids showing admiration for their teachers, showing admiration for their parents, you know, showing admiration for other kids that, you know, do things like look up to the CCP, the Communist Party in China. The CCP is, you know, Chinese Communist Party. So, you know, that's the kind of thing that they are shown. They are also only allowed to watch TikTok. You can't watch it more than 45. Can't be on the app more than 45 minutes a day. And after, I think it's 6 o'clock at night, you're not allowed to be on it at all. The app shuts down. Now, here's the thing. Kids in the United States are shown things like prank videos, videos about, you know, dancing trends, viral videos where you're, you know, slapping people, or slapstick videos, or being disrespectful to your parents, playing tricks on people, people falling down, you know, doing stupid things, really useless, brain, you know, numbing, dumbing down of America type of videos, like useless, pointless videos. That's what they're shown. And kids here, man, you can watch TikTok all day. Kids here are spending up to 3 and 4 hours a day on TikTok. The videos are designed to be disrespectful to your parents, to show lack of duty, lack of admiration for adults, and an absolute disregard for you know, any type of duty, responsibility, and a complete disrespect for the United States. It completely is undermining the traditional American values. the algorithm is almost designed to promote anti-American emasculation of males in the United States. Okay, so maybe that's probably a simplistic way of saying it. Maybe that's a little bit too aggressive of a way of saying it. But here's what I know. It's a concern for the U.S. government. Now, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party in Congress can't agree on pretty much anything. But they do agree on this. They agree that the app is detrimental to the U.S. population, that information's being collected, it's being stored, and it's being sent back to the CCP, and it's being analyzed, and they're collecting data on you and everything about you. Every aspect. It's so bad that I think it's almost a dozen states in the last year or 2 years have come up with laws stating that no employee of the government in that state is allowed to have the app on their phone. They're very concerned. Also, the FBI director has come out in front of Congress and said that it is a major concern, and that he believes that there's evidence that shows that the CCP is collecting data on Americans. It's so bad that Congress just put together a bill that's supposed to be voted on the next few months. The bill is the Anti-Social CCP Act, where they're trying to ban the TikTok app completely. The problem, how does that tie into someone like Andrew Tate? Here's what I think is going to come out. I think it's going to come out that people like Andrew Tate, Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, those ultra-conservative guys stand in the way of the algorithm or the CCP and TikTok's ability to emasculate males in the United States and create a divide in the country. Because the country, honestly, is extremely divided. You have to think, I'm 53 years old. Like, I've been around a while. I've been in prison I went to prison for 13 years. The country is extremely divided right now. Extremely divided. And one of the things that comes up all the time is TikTok. Like, I talk to people all the time, and it's constantly TikTok, 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 TikTok. It's really an issue. People will pull it out like it's the news. Like, this is some guy in his living room in an apartment in Iowa that is spouting off, some ridiculous notion, and you're ready to quit your job over it. Like, there are ridiculous things on this platform, and because people post these videos and they go viral, like, they totally influence the country. It's outrageous. Anyway, I think that's probably going to be one of the conspiracies that comes out as a result of this whole thing. Now, the other thing is Andrew Tate, unfortunately for him, unlike Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro, is that Andrew Tate has given the authorities enough rope to hang him. So, his message is honestly not that vastly different than Jordan Peterson or Ben Shapiro. Right? These are traditional values. These are find a purpose in life, work hard. And yet the problem is Andrew Tate's delivery is so overwhelmingly horrible. He has said so many, not just controversial things, but he said them in such a horrible way that I really see him having put himself in a bad position. I think he'll be let out of jail very quickly. I would be shocked if this goes very far. I think that most likely what happens with him is he will end up, he'll fight the charges, and eventually they'll get dropped and he won't do any jail time. They'll probably get dropped to something along the lines of a misdemeanor or some type of a fine, if that happens at all. Keep in mind, a lot of these women are from the United States, they're from Europe, they're from all over. So let's say he shuts down the business and has to fly these women, or these women fly back to their countries of origin. Now, if he goes to trial, they have to be flown back in. Is that something the Romanians really want to pay for? And how hard, even if the accusations are 100% true, it's not going to be hard to discredit women that leave their boyfriends, fly across the world to come to a country because they see a rich guy that had access to the internet, access to phones, like could have left pretty much at any time, stayed in the place. Like I get Stockholm syndrome, and I'm not saying that doesn't exist. And I understand that they may have, some of these women were genuinely probably scared or could have been scared. I don't know what the issue is. What I'm saying is it's not that difficult to put a woman on the stand 6 months after an event happened and make her look bad. And the prosecutors know this. Plus, you have to get her there. Plus, let's assume everything they're saying is true. Let's pretend every accusation that you have to believe women, all women, right? So everything they're saying is true. Let's pretend that's the case. For a guy like Andrew Tate, and listen, God bless him. Like I said, there's some of the stuff he says I believe, some of the stuff I agree with, some stuff I absolutely don't agree with. But for a guy like that, I wouldn't put it past him to have someone go to those women and say, I'm going to give you this much money, but when you get called as a witness, you don't go to Romania. You say, I'm not going to continue with this. I'm staying here. I don't want to participate. I don't want to continue. I don't want to testify. I don't want to be a witness. There's 6 women. Some of these women he was dating. How hard is it? How many women call the police and then you're simply nice to them again and they drop all the charges? Women call the police, they show up, they say all kinds of crazy things that didn't happen, or maybe they did. And then the guy's like, I'm sorry, I apologize, I messed up. They drop it all. They fall in love all over again and they drop all pretenses, or they decide they're going to go ahead and not cooperate and they're going to drop the charges. I wouldn't be shocked if doesn't have the ability to get this whole thing swept under the rug. That's my take on the whole thing. I genuinely can't wait for the conspiracy theories to come out. I really think there's going to be something along the lines of the whole, maybe he'll throw it on the Democrats because he's clearly a conservative, so he may throw it on all the liberals. But I think the whole liberal agenda and the whole CCP TikTok thing kind of ties in together. I wouldn't be shocked if that's not the way it goes. Listen, I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate you hearing my take on this whole thing. It's pretty comical, I know, and I can't wait to see what happens. So if you like the video, do me a favor, subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified of videos just like this. Leave me a comment in the comment section to tell me what you think. What else? Also, if you like the video, I have Patreon. I have my story. I have books. All my books are available on Amazon. They're also available on Audible. Really appreciate you guys watching. It was a fun topic. Thank you for listening. See ya.